Got some pretty shocking news. I heard an interview recently, some very small YouTube channel, some guy with connections to the Israeli intelligence agencies. And he mentioned some people in Kamala's team that are connected to jihadist groups or they're seriously anti-Semitic. So I started researching them, and it was a rabbit hole. I've been researching it for a few days. I still can't believe what I found. If you're a Democrat, I'm really sorry because this ain't good news, but you're going to want to hear it. Anyway, all the challenges that Israel's been having with the Biden administration really make sense. Not everyone realizes how devastating that administration's been for Israel in this war, but that's for another video. But for now, let's take a look at the people that I found in the administration. This is Maher Bitar. He's the deputy assistant to the president and the coordinator for intelligence and defense policy at the National Security Council. That's a very influential position. He's a Palestinian American and a former board member of Students for Justice in Palestine. That's one of the most prominent campus hate groups. They're associated with the Muslim Brotherhood. And that's an Egyptian Islamic supremacy organization whose stated goal is to spread Islam around the world and raise the flag of jihad. That's their words. Hamas is an offshoot of them. Now, Students for Justice in Palestine, unsurprisingly, endorsed Hamas and the atrocities of October 7th. This guy, Maher Bitar, also worked at UNRWA, which is obviously deep ties to Hamas, and is heavily involved in anti-Israel indoctrination. He also did an internship at the umbrella organization that funds another anti-Israel campus group called Jewish Voice for Peace. They've always got these deceptive names. Anyway, he's effectively a Muslim Brotherhood plant in the U.S. government in a senior defense-related position. I couldn't even believe it. This is Yusra Fazili. She's the chief financial officer of the Pentagon. She's in charge of the money. She's from Kashmir, which has seen a lot of conflict with India. Now, she has a lot of family members with ties to Islamic terrorism. She actively worked to free a convicted terrorist, Muhammad Afzal Guru, who was sentenced to death for being involved in the attack on the Indian parliament in 2001. Her sister and two cousins are deeply implicated in terrorism. Her sister, Samira Fazili, is also a member of the government in a less powerful position, but she's part of a group called Stand with Kashmir that has actually praised violent jihadists. And that group was founded by her cousin, Hafsa Kanjwal. Another cousin, Mubin Shah, was arrested by the Indian authorities for involvement with terrorism. Now, she described convicted terrorists as inspirations for the youth. Now, Yusra Fazili also served the Emir of Qatar. That's the country that funds Hamas and hosts their leaders. And she took that position after working at the Pentagon. She was the strategic advisor to the Qatari ambassador to the US. That's a man who had tried to silence Qatar's critics, including the head of the CIA. At the UN, she represented a group called the Islamic Federation of Student Organizations, which is also tied to the Muslim Brotherhood, and actually to bin Laden as well. Now, she was involved in developing the strategy for the Iran nuclear deal. It's unbelievable. Now, this is Brenda Abdelal. She's the Arab Outreach Director. She once spoke at an event of the American Muslim Council, an organization that's supported by, guess who? Muslim Brotherhood. And at that event, as a speaker, she claimed that the Zionists are controlling a lot of American politics. Her mother founded one of the chapters of this Muslim Brotherhood front group. She also attended an event by another Muslim Brotherhood front group called ISNA, Islamic Society of North America. Now, she accuses Israel of ethnic cleansing and terrorism, makes no mention of Palestinian terrorism. But wait, there's more. This is Nasrina Barzhi. She's Kamala's deputy counsel. Very high position. She's an Afghan migrant who escaped the Taliban. Now, you'd think she'd appreciate the freedom of the West and the oppression of the fundamentalist Islamic groups. But no, she's actually fought against Jewish students who have been fighting against anti-Semitism. She accused them and Jewish organizations of organized legal bullying for suing universities. I guess she feels that the intimidation and harassment of Jewish students is okay. She called the Jewish students the aggressors, and she made a request to the UN Human Rights Commission to stop the Department of Education from investigating allegations of anti-Semitism. And she ridiculed the idea that calling for the destruction of Israel was threatening. She also signed a petition claiming that the lawsuit by Jewish students was threatening the speech of Students for Justice in Palestine, a group connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. You'll see they're everywhere. So you want more? I'll give you one more, but there are actually many. This is Mazen Bazraoui. He's Biden's current Muslim liaison. In 2010, he attended an event by ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, again affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, and this event featured a number of individuals with ties to extremism. One of the unindicted co-conspirators in the World Trade Center bombing was honored at the event. His name is Imam Siraj Wahaj. Another individual present was Tariq Ramadan. Get this, he's the grandson of the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He's been charged with rape 5 times, and he's often justified terrorist tactics. no surprise. And Hamza Youssef is a man who defended Omar Abdel Rahman. Now, you may remember him. He's the man known as the Blind Sheikh. He was convicted for his involvement in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Now, Mazen Masraoui also challenged the materials and tactics that were used by counterterrorism experts in the US. He worked to censor the training materials on Islamic terrorism. Now, there are more, but I think you get the picture. It really looks like the Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated the Democratic Party thoroughly. It's astounding when you go into it. And as I said, there's a lot more. Now, I've always been a Democratic kind of guy. But a few years ago, I realized that the Dems that I'd always loved were gone. In their place was a group of Marxists and people tied to Islamic supremacy. I just didn't realize how bad things really were. But I grieved that loss at the time. It was hard. So I get that it may be hard for you too. But the Dems are over. They've been infiltrated by the Muslim Brotherhood and people who support them. And the Muslim Brotherhood's a very clever and dangerous organization. Now, this is obviously devastating for Israel, but it's also, and mainly, a huge threat to America. You may or may not like Trump, but whatever you think of him, he's not even in the same universe as these people. The Muslim Brotherhood are a very brutal, evil organization, and you do not want to see what they can do. If you haven't already been keeping track of what's going on in Europe and the UK, I recommend it. They've got more violent crime and sexual crime than they've ever had in history. Watch Tousi TV, Tousi, on YouTube, or GB News. You get a picture of what's going on in Europe and the UK, and that's what could be coming to America. Your vote matters way, way more than you think.